Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Beginning in Norfolk, where authorities have identified the pilot killed in a plane crash this week. Norfolk police say 37-year-old Philip Widner of Texas was the pilot of the single-engine plane that crashed shortly after takeoff Monday evening. Authorities tell us Widner worked for Ameriflight and was delivering packages from Norfolk to Omaha. He'd landed at the airport just after 7 p.m. and taken off about a half hour later. Multiple witnesses say Widner's plane crashed about a half-mile south of the Norfolk Regional Airport. No word yet on what caused the plane to go down. Well, the damage from Monday's explosion and fire at St. Patrick's in O'Neill isn't limited to the Parish Center building. St. Mary's Elementary School suffered extensive damage. Several nearby houses were impacted, and the hospital next door greatly affected as well. Michael Shively has more.
Avera St. Anthony's CEO John Kazera's day started like most people in O'Neill's did on Monday. He woke up to a loud boom shortly before 6 o'clock. The hospital's nurse manager called 5 minutes later, saying they were evacuating the facility. When the Parish Center fire was under control, Kazera surveyed the damage in the hospital.
Walking through our facility and seeing broken glass, broken doors, ceiling tiles that had been ripped out of the ceiling, sliding doors that had been blown out. You look at a hospital that's been here since 1952 and you think we've never encountered this kind of damage.
The hospital promptly set up a makeshift emergency department at the local community center. Now, all emergency patients are being transported to hospitals in Atkinson or Neely, and it'll be that way for a while.
It's not as easy as just let's fix the windows. You have to look at all the utility systems that support the medical services in the hospital.
The emergency department was perhaps the hardest hit. It almost completely caved in. The giant garage door behind me. There's a glass pane missing. There's glass shattered everywhere on the ground. The entrance to the emergency department had its doors blown off, now covered with plywood. This is just the damage to the exterior. It all hurts a little bit more because this expansion opened just a year ago at a cost of more than $10 million.
It's so heartbreaking to see a brand new, beautiful department have to now go through further renovation and restoration to get back to being functional.
Kazera says the outpatient clinic on the west side could open in a week or so. It could be months before the emergency department and other spaces on the east side reopen.
And so I look back at yesterday and was just blown away at the amount of support we got from our community. They were right there with us providing food. I mean, we had a food truck here and meals down at the community center and just the amount of food and support and love and prayers that came to us yesterday.
Kazera will call an all-staff meeting this week to talk through the situation, which could involve having some staff take on non-traditional roles. In O'Neill, Michael Shively, News Channel Nebraska.
A company plans to start construction on a controversial wind farm in Nebraska's Sandhills within the next week, but opponents argue the project's conditional use permit is about to expire. Casey Wannenberg brings us inside Tuesday's heated Cherry County Board of Commissioners meeting.
Stand up and stand up to those people.
Tuesday's Cherry County Board of Commissioners meeting was moved to a larger room.
Enough is enough.
But even then, it was standing room only as tensions rose over a planned wind farm near Kilgore.
It'll have 14 turbines. That's down from the original 19.
BSH Kilgore, the company behind the wind farm, had obtained a conditional use permit. But the permit is set to expire on October 15th, and construction has yet to begin.
Everyone in this room knows the truth, including these people sitting right here.
Carolyn Seaman is one of the people who spoke against the farm. She says that not only is the permit expiring in days, but the county's regulations state that a permit can't exceed a total of 5 years, making an extension a violation.
They had 5 years, and 1 week before the date the project is to be completed, done, they appear to pretend they had 7 years.
County Attorney Eric Scott says that because the company was involved in litigation for a couple years, that may have paused the clock on the permit, allowing for more time.
We have a tolling issue which probably stops the clock.
But at least 2 of the 3 commissioners agree that while that's a possibility, county regulations specifically state that the company can't have a permit exceeding 5 years.
I feel very strongly you do not have a permit come October 15th.
It's mute because you do not have a permit as of Tuesday.
Despite the ongoing debate, BSH Kilgore insists construction will begin within the next week, with the goal of completing the project within 2 years. In Valentine, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
Well, it was a good thing while it lasted, but the actions of a few mean a service will no longer be offered. The City of Beatrice and Midwest Area Refuse Solutions are closing the recycling drop-off location just west of the Beatrice City Auditorium. That after repeated misuse of the site. Officials say the decision followed a third incident involving a slaughtered pig being left in a roll-off container. That's raised serious health concerns for employees. Officials say the contamination issues have made it impossible to keep operating a drop-off site effectively or safely. The drop-off site was a free service to Beatrice residents. Now the only other option is a curbside service that costs $8.50 a month. Well, some new faces may be seen around Beatrice when first responders spring into action. 2 of them will be doing their jobs representing women everywhere. Jake Bartecki has their story.
Blazing trails while battling blazes. That's the story for Beatrice Fire and Rescue's 2 newest members. Tiffany Carnahan and Kirsten Keeper are the first 2 female firefighters in the department in over 8 years.
We get to represent females in this fire department now, and that's like an awesome axe to carry.
The 2 are the first females in the department since Julie Fisher retired in 2016 after 18 years of service. Keeper is a UNL alum who fell in love with firefighting during an EMT class during undergrad. Carnahan had plans to be a physician's assistant while attending Doane University, but transitioned after spending time with the Crete Fire Department. The 2 began their academy training on September 23rd and will graduate on October 18th.
We're starting from the very beginning of how do we even put on our gear, how do we put on our safety net, and then moving on to what's in our truck, how do we use our truck.
That way when we start with our shifts, we can be more functional than just, oh, I know the ambulance, and that's about it.
Keeper and Carnahan enter a unique situation as they enter an all-male department. Carnahan had a sense of what that would be like from her time in Crete, and her and Keeper have been made comfortable by an even demographic in their academy class.
We're 50-50, 2 boys, 2 females.
Yep.
And I think we work really well together, honestly.
Yeah.
We have our moments where we stress out, but we're here to get it done and dirty, so.
All this begs the question, why Beatrice? For Carnahan, all it took was a simple drive through town and a look at Beatrice's new station.
If you drive by the Beatrice Fire Station, you're wowed. It's huge. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Obviously, three years, something like that. It's a new station, and so I went on that night to the website, and it said that they were currently hiring, and so I applied.
Keeper says she wasn't at first sold on a small town department, but bought in after seeing the number of opportunities they present through an internship.
You get to do everything in your scope. I remember coming as a student and they're like, if there's an IV that needs to be done, it's yours. If we need to drill an IO, it's yours. Whatever skill that needs to be done, take it. It is us, and you have such a broad scope, which is really fun.
After graduating from the academy on the 18th, both Carnahan and Keeper plan to work towards more certificates to better serve the Beatrice community.
Beatrice really pushes you to go be educated, go be knowledgeable. Even if it's not necessarily a ropes class, or it's oh, go get a bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. You want a master's, go do that. And I think to push us for that education speaks volumes on the department.
In Beatrice, Jake Bartecki.
Excited to represent girlhood in the department.
News Channel, Nebraska.
Sin City blew a kiss goodbye to the Tropicana in an elaborate implosion that leveled 2 hotel towers and had some Nebraska flair. The celebration in Las Vegas early Wednesday included a fireworks display with a drone display set up by crew members from Norfolk-based Fantasy Drone Shows. You can see their handiwork in this video. The drones in the middle there forming the Tropicana logo. The Tropicana shut down in April after 67 years to make room for a new baseball stadium for the relocating Oakland Athletics. Once known as the Tiffany of the Strip for its opulence, the Tropicana was a frequent haunt of the legendary Rat Pack. And finally, back in the 90s, a goose from central Nebraska made national headlines for his unique condition before his life was mysteriously cut short. Over 3 decades later, the mystery is still unsolved. Ryan Valenta has more.
The story of Andy the Goose is one of the most infamous tales to residents of central Nebraska. A goose given new life by an eccentric Hastings inventor after Andy was born with no feet. He was beloved by many and received loads of national attention. At the age of 4, Andy was found dead due to suspected foul play. But his legacy still lives on 30 years later through his owner's granddaughter, Jessica Corgi.
When I came home that day from school, there was a goose in white patent leather baby shoes, and it was just like any other day out at the family household.
The story of Andy the Goose begins in 1988. One morning, Gene Fleming was driving to pick up ducks for his family's pond when he noticed a goose stumbling across a gravel road. Fleming noticed the goose had legs but no feet. He then took the goose home and fitted it with size 0 baby shoes, which turned out to be a perfect fit to give the goose mobility. Fleming didn't know it at the time, but a star had been born.
This was an act of kindness that there was no additional response anticipated. Like, he was not going after fame, and he was not going after fortune.
Fleming's humble and selfless act would later receive national attention from newspapers like the Associated Press and with television on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
He was a nice goose, and he put up with my grandpa trying all sorts of things. Like, he tried to fit the goose with roller skates. He tried to put the goose on a bicycle. He tried to put the goose on a skateboard. And the goose was just like, I'll go with it.
Like famous singer Billy Joel once said, only the good die young. And unfortunately, Andy the Goose followed that same fate. On an October morning in 1991, Andy was found right here in Chautauqua Park in Hastings, dead and dismembered at the age of just 4. Corgi recalls the moment she and her family heard the news.
I got a phone call, and it was my sister crying, and she asked if I had heard about Andy, and that's when it started.
Locals raised $10,000 to fund a reward to bring Andy's killer to light, but to this day, the high-profile murder remains unsolved. Corgi is now traveling to tell the remarkable story of this footless goose to remember the legacy of her grandfather Gene and Andy.
It is a whodunit. It is still left unsolved, right, technically? And I don't know, I think it's going to be fun to share it with a local crowd, and maybe between all of us, we can come up to a resolution.
Corgi will be in Hastings on Saturday, October 19th, exactly 23 years to the date when Andy went missing. Reporting in Hastings, Ryan Valenta, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.